natural spirituality is really our sense of listening to that heartbeat of the living universe. And I think children, I could just, my son is so much more attuned to that than I am as a young child. I think that young children can be, our greatest teachers around natural spirituality. So I wanted to share, this really wonderful visual here. And it identifies a developmental task, and it offers, what does it look like with the spiritual core and without, right? So when we're thinking about, the self, inherent worth versus being abilities based, kind of like when Lisa Miller was talking about in the video around what she had learned in school around that kind of achievement awareness, which can only get you so far, right? And so as you see here, prioritizing this spiritual core, which I think is, for me, it is deeper than mindfulness. Mindfulness for me is a pathway to really cultivate that spiritual core. And what are some ways that we can integrate natural spirituality with our embodied practice of daily living? And the first is, use spiritual language daily, and not to feel like, if you don't yet have a spiritual practice, to feel like you have to go out and cultivate it. It's really just welcoming the moments. Like, when my son's asking me, what happens when grandma dies? It's really sitting down and sharing, well, I don't know for sure, but this is what I'm thinking about. And it's welcoming those moments. And building even a spiritual practice together. If you have a spiritual practice, involving your child in an authentic way. I have an altar in my home, and I invited my son to create his own altar that's uniquely his, where he can connect in our lineage. We do a lot of connecting with our ancestors, and so talking about our ancestors a lot with him, knowing that there's, at least in my world, that there's a connection there, and sharing that with him. And, modeling how you honor your deep inner compass. That's where we get into kind of like moral decision making. What guides you around the decisions that you're making? And then sharing transparency in the voice of the spiritual experience, normalizing things like even feeling awe when you're in nature can be a wonderful opportunity to share in a spiritual experience, nurturing, embracing relationships with animals and all of nature, and then meeting them where they are,